What's up, Summoners? It is your third favorite host, Irene here. Sorry, Nate. And it is finally here. I know some of you guys have been waiting for a new patch, and as always, we've got you with a rundown that covers it all. We'll be running through all of the changes this patch and also providing tier lists for all 5 roles. Now make sure to subscribe and let us hop right into the video. Like always, we have to start with everyone's favorite section, the skins. But this time though, it's for real. A lot of us have been waiting for Space Groove, and several skins are available this patch. Space Groove Nunu, Nasus, Rumble, Lux, Samira, Blitzcrank, Lulu, and Lulu Prestige can now be purchased or earned in Lulu Prestige's case. I love these skins. They're awesome, funny, and well done. Make sure to check them out, and let's hop into the balance changes next. Let's begin by talking about item nerfs. Essence Reaver is first on the list. Some champions have been finding too much power with this purchase. The combination of attack damage, crit chance, and a Spellblade passive make it an item that's extremely powerful when ahead and snowballing. The price has been reduced by 100, but the AD has also been reduced by 10. Overall, this makes the item easier to purchase, but a lot less valuable than before. 10 AD is a lot. A longsword costs 350, so it's definitely a nerf. Next up is Lord Dominic's Regards. The cost has gone up by 100 and the AD reduced by 5. Lord Dominic's Regards was too powerful. It got to the point where some champions, not exclusively marksmen, would build it for its incredible stat line. It's supposed to be a late game item to help marksmen deal with tanks. With the increased cost and reduced stats, it should feel less like a core item and more like one that rounds out an already completed build. Finally, Everfrost has been nerfed. It's clear that Everfrost was not underpowered, but instead underpurchased. Much more popular than before, players have been finding a ton of success with it across the entire player base. The active damage has been reduced from 120 plus 35% AP to 100 plus 30% AP, and the cooldown thankfully increased from 20 seconds to 30 seconds. And speaking of 20, by the way guys, I want to let you know that you can get 20% off a subscription on our website, ProGuides.com. In case you're still confused about all the item changes this season, we have a ton of resources like coaches to help you out. If you want that discount, head on over to the site and use the code RANKUP2021. Next, we'll talk about item buffs. Cyrilda's Grudge has been underperforming heavily because it's too expensive for what it does. The item is more of a luxury, and it's pretty difficult to tech in. The price has been reduced from 3,400 to 3,200. Lord Dominic's has also received a nerf, meaning that more AD assassins will likely make the transition over to Cyrilda's when they need armor penetration this patch. Trinity Force got gigantic buffs this patch. Fighter mains are in for a treat. The AD has gone up from 25 to 30, attack speed down from 35 to 30, but the biggest change is that the passive now stacks on turrets. Also, the mythic passive stat was changed from 10% attack speed to 3 AD, 3 movement speed, and 3 ability haste. Now that you can stack Trinity Force up on turrets, split pushers can now take turrets significantly faster than before. Ignoring a split pusher is going to be so much harder than before, and player agency is definitely going to go up. And finally, we have one item adjustment. Turbo Chem Tank has been notorious. Any champion can become a terrifying speedster with it. Some of the strongest champions in the meta abuse this item for the immense movement speed it provides, as it essentially allows them to engage a fight from any distance. Hecarim and Udyr are going to take a beating this patch. The bonus movement speed has gone down from 75 to 60%, and the slow increased from 40 to 50%. While it will remain just as powerful for close range engages, champions looking to close long distances are going to notice a huge difference. That's it for the items, so let's run through the roles now, starting with the top lane. Mordekaiser is still struggling a bit in high elo, and he's received a minor buff this patch. His Q's isolation bonus damage was increased from 30 to 50% to 40 to 60%. A very straightforward buff. This should help Mordekaiser win those crucial 1v1s early on, and also reward him for singling out enemies. We previously already had him placed in the S tier, and he will stay there. Given that he was already finding some success in low elo, and because of how straightforward he is, we think he'll continue to do well for most players this patch. In high elo, this change will hopefully be enough to allow him to thrive. While Trinity Force did receive buffs, our analysts think that the most notable change this patch will be that Jax will see an increase in his win rate. There actually aren't too many champions who build this mythic item, Jax being a champion extremely sensitive to balance changes. It's likely he'll be an S tier pick this patch, as he'll be able to take down turrets even faster than before. Keep in mind, he does lose out on that extra attack speed. A notable pick we want to talk about is Volibear Top. While he's still an A tier pick for most of the player base, he's actually been popping off in Korean solo queue in particular. The core build relies on Turbo Chem Tank, which has been nerfed a bit this patch. We'll also be keeping our eyes on Jace this patch. The buff to Cyrilda's Grudge might be enough to move him up a tier in our mid-patch update. So with all that, our OP picks this patch in the top lane are Darius, Garen, Malphite, and Gnar, followed by Camille, Maokai, Poppy, Cho'Gath, Riven, Mordekaiser, Fiora, Urgot, Nocturne, Wukong, and Jax in the S tier. Before we move on though, I do have our question of the day for you guys. It's a really simple one. What champion do you main and why? For me, this one requires a little bit of an explanation. I worked at Riot Games and I was a playtester during the time that Rek'Sai was being released, and I was actually her head playtester and talked directly with the designer throughout the process. I had certain things removed from her kit, like her burrowed Q used to have a slow on it, and kind of pushed her more towards what I would consider a balanced state, even though she was very strong for what she did on release. So for me, Rek'Sai is the champion that I main because it's something that I got to personally work on, and that's really exciting for me. But let me know your answers in the comments below. It can even be the first champion you played or a champion that you think is funny. Who knows? But whatever it is, leave it in the comments below. Next, let's run through the jungle changes. There are a healthy number of jungle changes this patch, so let's jump into it. This patch, it comes time to put Udyr to sleep. Udyr has been dominating solo queue for a good amount of time. While he has had it rough in the past, I think these past patches have just about made up for it. The change to Turbo Chem Tank is already going to do some damage to him. However, he's also a victim of direct nerfs this patch. His base AD has gone down from 66 to 64. We've moved him from the OP tier to the S tier this patch. Sometimes 2 AD is all it takes. Hecarim is in a similar situation. The nerf to Turbo Chem Tank will definitely hurt, and what'll sting harder is that his E's maximum movement speed has gone down from 75 to 65%. However, we think he's strong enough to remain in the OP tier. Next for jungle nerfs is Ivern. Bug fixes to Daisy actually left him a little too powerful. While he might not be popular, the past few patches have provided enough games to accurately assess his power. His E's damage was reduced from 70 to 170 to being 70 to 150. Ivern will remain in the S tier even after this nerf. For buffs though, we've got Kindred to start. As she's been underperforming in most brackets, she's up for some love this patch. Her Q's bonus AD ratio has gone up from 65 to 75%, while her E's cooldown has been reduced from 18 to 14 seconds to 16 to 12 seconds. These are actually very nice buffs, and I think with a reduced cooldown on E, Kindred is going to be a lot harder to escape from. We're going to leave her in the A tier, but think that she'll see more success in low elo this patch. Amumu buffs are here as well. He has not been having a good time this season, as the preseason was his time to shine. Although he's consistently doing well in lower elos, anywhere above gold has been a dead zone for him. His win rate has been abysmal for many patches now, and this patch, his Q base mana cost was reduced from 50 to 70 to 30 to 50, and his E's cooldown decreased from 10 to 6 seconds to 9 to 5 seconds. We've been paying close attention to one champion in particular, and that is Shaco. By the end of 11.6, our analysts assessed that he was definitely ready to be pushed into the OP tier. With the nerf to Turbo Chem Tank, the jungle meta should open up a bit more as Udyr and Hecarim end up weaker this patch. Since Shaco has been popping off, he has a new place on our tier list this patch. His ban rate exceeded 20%, and it's bound to go up even more this patch. And yes, that's how you say his name, because his name is Shaco and his clone is Faco, not Shaco and Faco. Anyway, Nidalee is another pick who has been seeing more and more success. While we still can't recommend her to players in lower elo, she's become a hit for skilled and elite players. With the jungle pool being opened up by nerfs once again, Nidalee deserves a higher placement even on this list. We've bumped her up to the A tier. As a follow-up to Xin Zhao, we'll go ahead and leave him in the A tier. Although we still don't see any crazy AP builds yet, it's worth noting that the quality of life buff to his W and E have made him more potent as a pick. The jungle is honestly looking quite good right now. Fingers crossed that those Hecarim nerfs are actually enough. A ton of champions are playable right now, and you can always band out a troublesome pick. In the jungle, we have Hecarim, Shaco, and Elise in the OP tier, followed by Kha'Zix, Graves, Evelynn, Nunu, Ivern, Fiddlesticks, Viego, Skarner, and Udyr. Now, let's run through the mid lane. Yasuo has been buffed this patch. The changes to Immortal Shield Bow last patch left Yasuo in a pretty tough spot. While I know a lot of players don't enjoy playing against him, he's been underperforming, and this buff is actually well merited. This patch, his AD per level has been increased from 2.2 to 3. If players manage to survive early on and scale up, they'll be rewarded with a noticeable increase in attack damage. Yasuo will remain in the S tier this patch. Next is Lissandra, who's received a small buff. She's been an okay pick, and with this small buff, she'll be noticeably stronger early on. Lissandra's Q damage has gone up from 70 to 190 to 80 to 200. The extra damage will add up during the laning phase, but the loss of some power on Everfrost will hurt her a bit as well. We'll keep her in the B tier for now. We've also added, by popular request, Xin Zhao to the C tier for our mid lane list. This is mostly for the sake of acknowledging that he's a rising pick. At the moment, he stands as a niche pick. He feels a bit cheesy right now, and to be frank, it's hard to assess just how strong he is, as he's very, very inconsistent. One final change is that we've moved Kassadin down from OP to S tier and replaced him with Katarina. The nerf to Everfrost should be enough to move Kassadin down a bit. While he's still going to be about as powerful, Katarina has been itching to be moved up for quite some time. While there are a lot of buttons you need to press, players who are experienced with her can single-handedly take over games. She boasts high play rates and ban rates across almost every server. Our OP tier for the mid lane consists of Anivia, Zed, and Katarina, followed by Pantheon, Victor, Talon, Annie, Galio, Fizz, Echo, Kiana, Viego, Diana, Yasuo, Ahri, Yone, LeBlanc, and Kassadin. Next, let's run through the bottom lane. We've got a good number of bottom lane changes to go over now. One more time, we've got Kai'Sa nerfs. I know a lot of bot laners have been asking for them, and Riot is gradually balancing her. Her ultimate's cooldown has gone up from 110 to 70 seconds to 130 to 70 seconds. The extra 20 seconds early should make it easier to punish a Kai'Sa who's falling behind, and also make her a little less snowbally when ahead. 130 seconds at rank 1 is quite long, and I'm certain marksman players will definitely feel this nerf. However, we'll keep her in the OP tier as her late game remains powerful and her damage output is just left untouched. Cutting her rise to fame short, Tristana has been nerfed this patch. Initially a sleeper pick, Tristana has been killing it in solo queue. Her base AD has gone down from 61 to 59. Any attack damage nerf definitely hurts on marksmen, especially for Tristana, who relies heavily on last hitting to make use of her E. Tristana wants to push in waves, and even a little less AD makes it a bit harder than before. However, she's gonna remain an S tier pick. Ashe has been buffed this patch, however. Her W's damage has gone up from 20 to 80 to 30 to 90. Especially early on, 10 more damage is actually huge. It's nearly impossible to not get tagged at least once by it. And if you're able to land 3, 4, or even more, that damage can really add up before players take their first recall. We'll leave her in the S tier for now. Varus has also been buffed this patch. His AD per level has gone up from 3 to 3.4. While this is a decent buff, his low win rates lead us to believe that even after them, he'll remain a B tier pick. With that out of the way, we don't have any other changes to report to the bottom lane this patch. We'll keep Kai'Sa as our OP pick this patch, followed by Samira, Tristana, Jinx, Ezreal, Ashe, Vayne, Jhin, Caitlyn, Seraphine, Swain, and Sivir in the S tier. Now let's wrap things up with supports. Rell is up for another nerf this patch. She's extremely popular across all ranks and has been seeing a ton of success even after receiving a previous nerf. Her E stun duration has been lowered from 0.75 to 0.5 seconds. Honestly, Rell is pretty good at a lot of things. She deals damage and also has decent crowd control. Taking away some of her utility should make her less of a universal pick, and instead make her one that's strong in specific situations, just like she's intended to be. Rell remains in the S tier after this nerf, but we'll continue monitoring her as this might be enough to drop her into the A tier. As one of the best supports for basically the entire season, it's no surprise that Thresh has been nerfed this patch. Of all things though, they've nerfed his shield. His W shield has gone down from 60 to 220 to 60 to 180. This isn't his selling point as a support, and instead, this nerf has just trimmed some accessory strength. Even after this nerf, we're just gonna keep Thresh in the OP tier. Our analysts have been debating for the past few patches whether or not they should move Alistar up to the OP tier. That debate is over this patch, however, as he's been nerfed. His Q's damage has been reduced from 60 to 240 to 60 to 220, and his E's damage on attack reduced from 35 to 290 to 20 to 275. Damage was definitely one of the contributing factors to Alistar's strength. During the laning phase, he's significantly scarier than his lane partner most of the time. In the mid to late game, carries would still have to be afraid of Alistar. Somehow this guy equipped with Ignite could find just enough damage to kill you. Getting chunked early on could lead to you getting ended by him. Alistar is also a good overall pick because of his reliable crowd control and tankiness, so we'll keep him in the S tier even after this nerf. And much to Kangus's delight, Braum has been buffed this patch. He's gotten some nice ones this season, but here's another one. It is Christmas for Braum mains. His E's cooldown has gone down from 18 to 10 seconds to 16 to 8 seconds. Also, his R's maximum knockup duration has been buffed from 1 to 1.5 seconds to 1 to 2 seconds. Braum's E is definitely his strongest ability, and with the cooldown being reduced to 8 seconds in the late game, I expect players to have much more impact with him. It's a huge detriment to enemy damage output, and purchasing some ability haste will definitely make him even more troublesome to play against. There is no doubt that Braum will see an increase in his play rate and win rate, so we've moved him up to the A tier. That being said, our OP picks for support are still Leona and Thresh, followed by Lulu, Bard, Morgana, Janna, Alistar, Nautilus, Rel, and Blitzcrank in the S tier. And with that, another patch and tier list is in the books. So there's just one last thing before you go. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I know that's 3 things. And if you feel like it, join our Discord in the description box below. There, you can discuss League further, hang out, and be a part of our community. Now, it's time to say goodbye, because I've got places to be and games to play. So I hope you all have a good day, and I'll see you next time.